It's like Tom Brady is the Kylo Ren of the NFL football.
Nobody's going to remember anything we said about the NFC Championship game. They're just going to remember that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a generic sports podcast. Basically, two morons talking about things they generally don't know about in a format that they really didn't plan out. So I'm Carlos Alcazar, and here is my co-host, David Turnbull.
Hey, how's that going, everybody?
So today is a beautiful, freezing cold, but still sunny day in Canada, icy like the hearts of New Orleans Saints fans. Speaking of which, I happen to have a New Orleans Saints fan. Mr. Turnbull, tell us the feels. I don't have the psychiatrist couch right now, but this is the best we can do.
And I kind of wish you did have the psychiatrist couch right now. The feels is still, almost a week later, it's still painful for a lot of reasons. We're going to get into that play. We'll get into that play.
As it shall be infamously known as the no call.
But before then, I thought I would give you some initial thoughts on the game. So first of all, I was really surprised with the game because it sort of went against type, right? Both games the Saints played in the playoffs were rematches of games they played in the regular season. First versus the Eagles and then versus the Rams. And both went completely differently to the way the regular season game went. So first thing I thought, you expect Todd Gurley and now this two-headed beast, Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson for the Rams to do actually quite well. And they didn't. So the Saints' run defense is legit, right? They basically took him out of the game. And it was interesting hearing some of the comments after. People were like, yeah, well, Todd Gurley, we know, sat out the whole third quarter. Some talk about maybe there's something wrong with him, like an injury. But, C.J. Anderson was so good. Well, no. They have them both under 100 yards, right? The run defense was great. The thing that surprised me about the Rams was, other than the interception, which Todd Gurley should have caught that ball, Jared Goff was good. Like, really good. Now, part of that, I think, is the Saints' pass defense that is garbage, right? But he made some big-time throws, and he made the throws he needed to do to put his team in position to win the game. And so that surprised me. The other thing that surprised me was Drew Brees is not typically Drew Brees. Now, maybe it's just, is it a lagging injury?
I don't think he's been Drew Brees for a couple weeks. The thing is, it's not like it's one game in isolation. This, put an exclamation point on it. We'll talk about it more when we talk about the specifics of the game itself. But all I was seeing was, okay, I know it's Drew Brees. Technically speaking, the quarterback matchup is supposed to favor New Orleans. It's supposed to.
Hands down.
Yeah, it's but the thing is, I'm not as high as Jared Goff's performance as you are, and I have Jared Goff rookie cards, which I would happily sell if he does very well and wins the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, financially, I'm incentivized.
So now this podcast has become just how Carlos can sell his merchandise?
Almost everything related to this football season is how I can make money, is what I'm trying to get at.
All right, fair enough.
But the point is that I would love for Jared Goff to have lit up the whole board. I think he played well. I think, to your point, he did make the throws he needed to make. I don't think he was spectacular, but I don't think any of the quarterbacks were really spectacular. I think they had bursts. I think the end result, when you look at the stats, it's like, yeah, they did great. But then you look at, there were ebbs and flows in the game where just things weren't really moving. But neither offense really got in rhythm. And we'll get into that when we talk about, as the game went on. We'll focus mainly on the NFC Championship just because we actually have a real-life New Orleans Saints fan. They do exist outside of New Orleans, apparently, allegedly. This isn't like New England where there's 87 million New England fans. Most of them created after 2001. But the thing is that when we're talking about the NFC Championship, I watched it ended up becoming a heavyweight slugging match only because neither team had a knockout punch. But they had chances to throw knockout punches. And that's what made the whole thing weird. It just played out. And having the chance to rewatch it, the whole thing, I watched every snap. And as I watched it, I'm like, okay, there's an opportunity. You could punch that in. There's an opportunity. You could punch that in. Both teams had a chance to put it away. And they had multiple chances to come back from it. The no call was a big thing. That's the exclamation point. The one advantage of doing this not immediately after is that then it gave almost a week to be able to read articles, listen to people's takes. I don't want to be swayed by their take, but I do like listening to the angles they take on it. And everybody's focused so much on the call, though, that it's like, okay, you almost forgot about all this other stuff that happened just before and just after.
Well, I think
even in the fourth quarter.
Well, I think that's what happens when it's a game-changing call, right? That, sometimes you play a game you don't deserve to win or you shouldn't win or whatever, but you end up doing because something goes your way, right? So if that call goes the Saints' way, is it possible that the Rams still win the game? Absolutely. Is it possible that the Saints just take some time off the clock and then miss the field goal? Sure, lots of things are possible. But if you're going by probabilities, the probability that the Saints win that game, if they get that PI call, goes way up.
Yeah, I think the difference is, and this was going to be kind of fun. I'm going to take the angle on this where it comes to the no call. I'm not going to excuse it. It was a terrible call. There's unanimous agreement. It was a blown call. Everybody agrees. Both sides, all teams, everybody agrees. I'm not going to condone the referees not throwing a flag when they probably could have. I'm not going to condone them ignoring, obvious replays. I'm not going to condone the NFL head office not acting when they had the opportunity, and it was obvious to everybody. But what I will do is I will partially absolve the officials, only because I think that play took the Saints' probability of winning from 99% to 85%. Like, they still had every opportunity to win that game. So let's get into it real quick. The reason I'm going to say that the Saints had every opportunity to win is right off the top in the first quarter, 3 possessions where they could have scored touchdowns. And they settled for field goals twice. So they were in, including one in the red zone where you had the drop in the end zone. So that's this guy right here. And that was with about 10 minutes left. The beginning of the game, one of the first things I observed is the beginning of the game, New Orleans couldn't have drawn it up better. They ate up almost 5 minutes of the clock. A great drive right off the top. You got to get 7.
Well, especially when you're in the position that you're in the red zone.
Yeah.
Right? And you have a play where the ball's in his hands. Now, I believe, if you want to just roll the play, I believe it's Dan Arnold that is the one. So he's a backup tight end. Right? So one of the things is that Benjamin Watson, yeah, it is Dan Arnold. So Benjamin Watson, who's their main tight end, didn't play in this game. He was injured. Appendicitis. And so they're playing with some of the backups, but Saints have been one of those teams that have really lived well with the next man up. When they've had people go down and they have, because Drew Brees is so good, they have all these undrafted receivers or all these receivers who just look fantastic because their quarterback's so good. In this case, is it a hard catch? Yeah, absolutely it is, right? But you're in a position in the end zone where you have the space. You have a ball in your hands like that where you can actually bring the ball down. You got to make that catch.
I agree, but I think that play is indicative of another theme that I saw throughout this game. I don't think Drew Brees was sharp at all. I think he made a lot of throws where accuracy is his forte. That's his big thing.
Absolutely.
The huge completion total. He should have made the catch. It wasn't a great throw. It wasn't like it made it easy for him.
No.
He didn't lead him into the ball. The guy still had to reach for the ball. Now, if he makes the play, obviously different conversation. But the point is, coming out of the first quarter, they're up 13-0. There is no reason, especially after they got a turnover and had the ball again, thanks to the Rams giving it up. They could have been up 21-0 in the first quarter.
Absolutely.
And considering where we ended up in the game, 21-0 in the first quarter, how do you like your chances?
Oh, for sure.
You feel fantastic. You like, okay, Rams can still come back, but we're going to make you work now. Now you got to come back from 3 scores down. So that's huge. The other one that really stands out to me, obviously the rest of the game continues. The Rams slowly chip away at that lead, and they slowly start to come back. One of the other things that struck me, I just want to make sure I get the right spot here, is right at the end of the second quarter. Right now the Saints are up 13-3. So going into the third quarter, the Saints are still doing pretty well, but they don't score again. Like, they score 13 points in the first quarter, and it just kind of stalls for a while.
Yeah.
And nothing really happens until the second half.
Well, it's like mirroring the Philadelphia game, really, right?
Yeah.
Where the Philadelphia was up 14-0, and they never scored again. And I mean, the Saints obviously did score again in this game, but when you have such a chunk of time where you don't score, even if the other team isn't scoring, but in this case the Rams were, you're giving them hope. You're giving them back into this. That momentum thing, I think, played a role as well, especially considering how significant the crowd noise was. And I know we have another point on the crowd noise we're going to come back to later.
Yep.
But considering how much that affected the game early on, the Saints weren't able to capitalize on that, and that ultimately did affect the outcome as well.
No, that's all fair. But the part that gets interesting for me, where it becomes kind of a thing, and I'm going to move ahead here. So we have the benefit on the you're listening to the audio, but we have the benefit of being able to pull up the video here. The most interesting thing to me, obviously, the rest of the game kind of goes back and forth. The Rams slowly go. So as you head into the fourth quarter, the Saints are up 20-17. They're still ahead in the game. They're still under control. They've still got it. Where I kind of take the spot where I want to look at it is right about from 12:35. So 12:35 left. So basically, I won't read every aspect of it, but I'll give you kind of a quick recount. The Saints get a 5-yard penalty, which gives more room for the kick. They fair catch it inside the 40. They're inside of Rams territory. So right now, they're up by 3. They're inside of Rams territory almost automatically. Basically, you get a first down, and you're kicking a field goal to go up by 6 with 12 minutes left. That's good. You're in good. You're in position A. If you can spell it out and you can choose, this is not a bad spot to be in. So personal foul on the Rams. Sorry, they were inside their own 40. The personal foul on the Rams, 15 yards, puts them inside LA's 46. So that's basically how it plays out. So now they're inside Rams territory. Again, first down, and you're pretty much kicking a field goal. Great. You get a holding call, 10 yards. Now you're 1st and 20. You incomplete pass, not even close on the throw. Then you hand off on 2nd and 20. I don't know why. Because apparently you can get 20 yards on a run play. This is where I kind of question Sean Payton's play call in a bunch of these situations. But you hand off on 2nd and 20, so now you're 3rd and 17. So your pass is nearly intercepted on a bad throw, another bad throw by Brees, and then you have to punt it. So almost an automatic field goal to go up by 6, and you're punting it away. 8 points in the first quarter, that was a free 3 points there in the fourth quarter. So now remember, at the end of regulation, we're tied. So bad call or not, it's like you could have already been up by 6.
True, but I mean, if you're going to go by that argument, they left a lot of points on the board, which they did.
11, potentially.
The Rams also left some points on the board too.
They did,
right? So when you're looking at that aspect, if you look at what's not scored, right? Well, the Rams very untypically didn't go for it when they had 4th and goal inside the 1.
No, I agree. But where the Rams, I think it's lack of aggression where they went away from their character. When I'm looking at the Saints, I'm looking at Drew Brees making bad throws that he doesn't normally make, and I'm looking at Sean Payton making play calls. Do you run on first? Do you run on 2nd and 20?
Well, you know what, the play calling, and this is one of the things my brother.
This is with 12 minutes. You can't eat up 12 minutes from 2nd and 20.
Well, for sure. But my brother is a huge Saints fan as well, and I watched the game with him. And he was all in the Sean Payton needs to be fired after this game. I'm not on that category. But I asked him later in the week when I saw him, after a couple of days to kind of, let it settle and whatnot. I said, do you still think Sean Payton should be fired? He goes, absolutely. And I said, I don't agree with that. But this game seemed to be called uncharacteristically. It wasn't a typical Sean Payton game, it felt like. The creativity in the play calling didn't feel like it was there.
So do you think that the two coaches who are known for offensive innovation were trying to outsmart each other by going outside of type?
Could be, but I think if that is the case, then they both did themselves a disservice.
Yeah, because I think what I get a sense from in the way that game played out is that they're trying to outsmart each other. The problem is you're outsmarting each other. So he expects me to do this, so I'm going to do this. So then what he doesn't expect me to do is to play conventionally. They don't expect me to coach like Andy Reid. Which the problem is I'm not Andy Reid, so it's not my style. So, that'll fool him. But the other guy's thinking the exact same thing, so you both end up playing really generically and bizarre. So this is the one I'm talking about right here. I've queued it up.
All right.
So this is the 1st and 20. Look at this throw.
Okay.
So this is a Drew Brees throw here on 1st and 20. Again, fourth quarter, about just under 12 minutes. That's not a good throw.
No.
At least give the guy a chance. He's got almost no shot at catching that ball.
If anything, you got to throw it a little shorter so he can come back to it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Drew Brees' accuracy is his hallmark. And he's got a little bit of pressure, but look, he's got a pocket. He's throwing.
Oh, and there's also
that's no good.
There's also a guy open in the middle too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're if you make the right decision there, you're not 2nd and 20. But then you follow up 1st and 20 that didn't, it was a bad throw. It happens. But you follow up 1st and 20 with this, and then you do a run play that goes almost nowhere. So it's not like you're going to eat 11 minutes and 46 seconds of clock that way.
No, not at this point.
You still want to get a first down, and honestly, you genuinely you want to try to get the first down so that you can get that field goal, and then all right, Rams come the other way. It's easier if you do LA's job for them. Probably McVay is sitting there going like, okay, if you want to run on 2nd and 20, I'll take the ball back. Thanks.
Pretty much.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
right?
bro.
And now you're in a 3rd and long, which, I mean, Drew Brees has made many of these throws before.
Now this one here, I also made a note on this 3rd down pass. Look at this. So this is 11:08 left. This throw. Look at this. That could have been intercepted very easily.
Absolutely.
It was not a good throw either. That's 2 out of 3 bad throws. And in the 4th quarter, there were a lot of bad throws.
Yeah, as I said, Drew Brees was not typical Drew Brees in this game. And as you had pointed out already,
this is open. He has a lane to make the throw.
Yeah, he's just got to lead the receiver a little more, and then it's a completion.
And that was
a
Roby
first down.
Coleman, and I think that was Roby Coleman too.
Let's not mention him. Let's not mention him.
But
by
we're
name,
going to
please.
mention. But we're going to mention him. We must. We are required to mention him.
So much anger there.
This is what the people want, Turnbull. The people want. But that's the thing. Like you, it's hard to argue. Like, okay, it's hard to argue the referee screwed you over. Did the referees make you miss throws like that when you have opportunities?
No, for sure. I mean,
this is in the 4th quarter. So
if
this
you
isn't
want
like
to
the
say the
beginning.
Saints had opportunities to win the game and they missed them, I'm not going to argue with you on that point. But like I said, I think in a game when there's something so blatantly obvious that leads to or should lead to a much higher percentage of you winning the game, almost 100%, as you said, you can't ignore that.
I don't intend to ignore it. My thought process is always, I don't like blaming the officials only because the only time I'm okay with blaming the officials is if the exact same play happens. It's 4th down and the Saints are down. If the Saints are down and it's 4th down and that missed call leads to a change of possession where the Rams can run out the clock, okay, the referee screwed you over and cost you the game. But my whole thing is watching it and having the chance to look at it again. I go, watching this game, the only thing the referees did was they took away one potential avenue of victory. They didn't take away victory. They took away one scenario where you can win. You could still have done a better play call on that. You still could have made some better throws. You still could have scored the additional points. And by the way, the whole concept of the no call is that leads to a first down. The Saints can then run down the clock. Well, let me throw a potential alternative scenario at you. Let's say they call it first down. So now we know. All right, you're going to run down the clock and kick the field goal. Cool. What if Sean Payton decides to throw the same way he did on the previous one, throws it twice, doesn't run down the clock, they still kick the field goal, they get the play call, the Rams still don't have to call timeout, and they get the ball back with 1:11.
Which is very theoretically possible. Or
Because he basically did that the first time.
Or you could have a scenario where they do run the ball and the Rams let them score.
Yeah.
Right? You have one of those where they just say, okay, they're going to score, so we're just going to let it happen so we have more time on the clock. I've seen that happen before.
But that's exactly it. The whole thing is like, okay, I get the idea, but like, guys, I don't understand what the concept is here. So, one second, I'm going to pull this up here. I want to go 503. Okay, so this is the driving question here. So this is the actual, not the actual throw. So they're going to get the ball.
This is after the Rams have tied it up.
This is after the Rams have tied it up.
At 20.
So now this is first down, 4 minutes and 57 seconds. So they throw the ball, and I think the play we're looking for is we've got a 43-yard. Let me see here.
Oh, the pass.
The completion to Ted Ginn. So 207. Here we go.
Which I feel was kind of lucky.
This is my point in the 4th quarter. Like this throw, the Ted Ginn throw, the big play that set everything up, 43 yards. So he launches it up in the air. It's a jump ball. It wasn't a good throw either.
No, but I mean...
Ted Ginn made the right play. He did a great play. But it wasn't like it was, it was a pinpoint accurate. He dropped it in the bucket. No, he didn't. He threw it up, and Ted Ginn went to go get it. That's good.
Yeah, and I think Joyner here makes a bad path to the ball.
Totally.
Right? Like, because that easily could have been tipped or it could have been intercepted as well.
Now, at this point, they make this catch. You're watching it with your family. I think you assume the Saints have got this now.
I don't know if I ever assumed that the Saints have got it because, we get so nervous. The nerves are so up in a game like this that that, until you know 100% they've got it. Am I liking my chances right now? Absolutely, I'm liking my chances right now.
Did last year losing the way you guys did in Minnesota kind of hamper your thought process on that? Like, what horrible fate can befall us?
No, but I think the thing is, since the 2009 Super Bowl, and even in that season, they got outplayed in the NFC Championship game by Minnesota.
Now, this is a minute 58, fourth quarter. So right now, you got the first down. This is the first one. This is supposed to be a quote-unquote high percentage. This is what people argue. It's a high percentage pass. Okay, it is, but it's a bad throw. Like, you threw it at his shoelaces. There's no way. And what I'll do is if I put up a version, the audio, I'll put it up on YouTube as well with some kind of static image. I'll probably take a couple of screen grabs. I can put it in there for reference. But it'll be easier to see.
But absolutely, in that play, you save the Rams from having to call a timeout.
Yeah.
Now, I know the NFL's come out with the audio. NFL Films has put out the audio, the people who were mic'd up from this game.
Yep.
And during the 2-minute warning, Brees and Peyton had a conversation about how they really wanted to go for the touchdown. They didn't want to just run it and get a field goal.
I understand it, but if you want to do that, you got to make a better throw than that. You can't make it impossible for the guy to catch the ball except by catching it off his shoelaces.
Well, no.
Because he also can't advance the ball. You don't give him a chance to get yards after catch.
No, but I honestly feel as a point of agreement, Drew Brees did not nearly have a good enough game. Right? I mean, did he play well enough that they could have won? Yes. Did he play typical Drew Brees game? No. There's a noticeable tailing off by Drew Brees in the second half of the season.
The question is going to become going forward, though, is that a trend? Because if they can't adjust, now they tried to get Des Bryant to give him another weapon.
Well, and that's another point I had. Right, is that comes out of this game, and I've read a couple articles about this since in terms of talking about what are the big needs of the team. I think the Saints have two, apart from re-signing Will Lutz, who's their kicker, who's a free agent. And I think they really need to re-sign him because he's great. But first, they need a secondary receiver. Mike Thomas is great, but Mike Thomas got totally taken out of this game. Right? I think he had 4 catches for 36 yards, something like that. And the second thing is, I feel they need just one more above average secondary person, right? So either another cornerback or safety who's above average, right? Marshawn Lattimore is amazing, but he doesn't have a lot of help out there. I mean,
I think you're describing, though, almost every team. That was actually helmet to helmet.
Oh, totally.
A little scrape by on the Kamara run after the first down play.
Which I never noticed until right now.
Well, that's the beauty of being able to watch it on the replay.
But I mean, that what we just saw is totally something that you can see missing. Like as you said before, you don't want to bash officials. I don't like bashing officials either because I am an official, right? I officiate 3 different sports, and I don't like that. When I coach, I also coach soccer. I try not to berate the referee.
My philosophy is always, though, if you ever want to worry about the referee, don't put yourself in a position. If you're up by 25, no one cares. Like it doesn't matter. So this here is the big play. There's the no call.
Yeah.
So Roby Coleman goes in, hits. Who was the Saint player? We'll get you another.
It was Tommy Lee Lewis.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so 2 things here. So you got helmet to helmet and pass interference. You can make either call. The collision is totally obvious, no problem, easy. And this is the perfect camera angle because it's very obvious. However, one more point that I would make. That throw was nowhere near on line. And here's the thing about the Roby Coleman thing. He got away with one. He got the heist of the century on this one, not getting called on it.
Well, hold on. Can I get on my one rant? He didn't totally get away with it. Now you might be wondering, well, of course he did. The Rams won the game. No, he got fined for that.
I understand.
The NFL fined him for that.
Well, of course, but the NFL needed to save face. The NFL needed to do something. They needed to acknowledge that it occurred. They needed to acknowledge that it was an illegal hit. And that's fine. That's fair. I think he'll pay it. I don't think he'll mind. But the thing is, and this is where Roby Coleman did himself a disservice. The reality is, that was another offline throw. It wasn't really a good throw in the position it was supposed to be in. The reality is, if Roby Coleman had turned around, that was an interception.
True.
A very easy interception.
Yes, I agree with that.
It would have hit him right at the top of the numbers. Just turn around, catch it, and guess what? You can run the other way. I don't see anybody over here. I don't see any Saints players. He can probably just go and take it in for a touchdown.
Although the other interesting thing about this is the still that you have up is you can see the referee.
Yeah. Oh, no, for
he's
sure.
totally not looking. Now he's Now, granted, it's not his call because it's not his area of the field, but one of the things he kept saying was, I never saw the play. Well, he's looking at a different area of the field right now. So there's actual video evidence of him, but there were two officials in position to see that play and make a call.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the still image, and it's the beauty of video. You can go back and look at it and go, but it's right here, plain as day. Yes, missed call, huge. Now, but in this situation, what ended up happening? You kick the field goal, you tie the game, go to over. You kick the field goal, you go ahead.
Yeah, you're up by 3 now.
Now, do you leave time for the Rams to come back and get it? Yes. Now, one thing, though, that I think Sean Payton also deserves criticism for. Yes, this was a hideous play. Of course he's furious. I totally get it. But at a certain point, once it's clear the officials aren't going to give you satisfaction, I think he's still arguing with the official into overtime. Like, he's still yelling at the official. I'm like, dude, how about pay attention to your game? You can still win this game. And you win the coin toss. So you've got the ball. So guess what? Do what the
Patriots did.
Do what the Patriots did. The Patriots also thought they probably won the game, but they knew that the Chiefs had the offense to be able to go. The Chiefs tied it late to send it to overtime. So what the Patriots do? All right, fuck this. I'm gonna go take it to the end zone, and we're gonna score, and we're gonna win. And that's exactly what they did, and they finished it off. And that's as much as I don't really like Tom Brady, you have to give it to him. As far as a killer instinct is concerned, that is the difference between Tom Brady and Drew Brees. It's not I think Drew Brees is actually more talented than Tom Brady. I think there's 100 guys that are probably more talented than Tom Brady.
Well, that's another. You and your feelings on Tom Brady is another podcast on its own.
Overrated. He's Tom Average. It's like, whatever. He's not Tom Terrific. He's Tom Average.
I'm not getting into that right now.
It's like, but the point is, the difference is the killer instinct. So right now, what would have happened is Bill Belichick would have been furious, and then he would have been like, all right, fine. We're going to beat you in overtime. And then mind shift focus, and he goes and yells at the players and goes, do your job. That's basically all he would do. It's just yell at them, do your job. And then they would know, all right, we got to do our thing. Because you still can stop the Rams in regulation, and you can beat them in overtime. And then you go and go full Favre in overtime, which is...
How about you explain to our listening audience what going full Favre is?
So, as a Packer fan, one of the great joys of my existence as a fan is that I get to watch is that I got to become a fan while watching Brett Favre. The advantage of watching Brett Favre, exciting. You can always come back. The possibility is always there. He can always make a ridiculous throw that he'll throw into traffic that somehow works out. But it also means that you have the distinction of no one has ever thrown more interceptions in the history of the NFL than Brett Favre. So there's always the opportunity for the most inopportune of all interceptions. And going full Favre in this case is throwing an interception in the NFC Championship game, which Brett Favre did twice. I'm still bitter over 2007. That still hurts my feelings.
Yeah, so for the record, people, Carlos is not talking about 2 interceptions in one game. He's talking about 2 different NFC Championship games where Brett Favre threw a costly interception.
And it still hurts my feelings. It's been, 11 years, 12 years. It still hurts my feelings. Mind you, that still doesn't hurt my feelings as much as the 2014 NFC Championship, which is a point I'll make at the end of this one, is that I've thought about it the other day. I actually have that on here as well. I haven't rewatched it because I already know that my blood would boil. It's been 4 years. I'm not over it. I'm still bitter. I'll be bitter forever. I hate Seattle. Screw them. This doesn't even have anything to do with this game. Screw them. Anyway, so it's just so you know, if you feel in the long run that the no call leaves you with a sense of bitterness, just be aware it's perfectly natural.
Well, I think it will.
Yeah.
I think it will.
So the thing, though, is that I think what makes it worse, though, to the point, is that in reality, the overtime, and the other thing here that I enjoyed is that they did replay one of the interceptions of Favre, and I'm like, that's foreboding. I do enjoy the literary foreshadowing of the broadcast.
Unfortunately, this time it was the other way around.
Yeah. So you win the coin toss. Great. You got the ball. Awesome.
In decent field position too. There was
exactly.
A decent return.
Well, this is the thing. Like, the opportunities were there. The interception, though, I believe it's at this spot. Let me just make sure I got this. 14:03. So I put all little time stamps in my notes just to make my life easier. So let's do that right here. Okay. So I'm going to cue it up. So we're in overtime. 14:03, give or take approximately. The Saints drop back. Brees drops back. And this is where he does get, he's got a guy in his face, understandably. But he releases the ball he has no business releasing. But the thing about the interception is the guy's falling down. It was pure luck. Not only did it go exactly where it needed, like if it goes 2 feet to the left, he's not catching it. 2 feet to the right, he's not catching it. If it's a little bit high, he's not catching it. It literally drops into his hands perfectly. That's when you know kind of the football gods have it in for you. Because there's no reason that ball should have dropped. When 43 falls down, it's perfect.
Yeah.
He couldn't have thrown it and dropped it into his hands.
He doesn't catch that ball if he doesn't fall down.
Exactly. Like if he's standing up, there's no way he's catching it. That's just when you know the football gods have it in for you. That's when you're done. So the thing is, at that stage, obviously, then it's academic. Then it's just then it's sudden death for score wins.
Well, it should be academic, but I don't think there's anything academic about a 57-yard field goal.
No, that's the thing. He still has to make it. The other reason, though, I was saying the no call thing, a lot of people take it for granted and just assume. But I totally get it. But what if you do everything? You do it right. Let's say you play it out exactly the way you want to play it out. You get the first down. You run the clock down to almost nothing. Lutz is solid. He's making kicks. No problem. But now it's a different scenario. The kick he made to go ahead was with almost a minute 40, give or take. And, the Rams have timeouts. He knows that his defense is going to have to get on the field and do some work. It is pressure. It's a go-ahead. But you are tied. It is a go-ahead. Well, what if you're in the dying seconds? Now, this is the last play of regulation. You can just straight up win this game. Mm-hmm. We've already seen this right now with kickers. I think a lot of people just assume with kickers. Well, guess what? Extra points have been missed this year. Right now, kicks are basically what 3-foot putts are in golf against, amateur opponents. You know what? I've seen these missed.
Yeah.
I've seen you hit the goalpost and the crossbar and go out. Ask Chicago.
Yep.
It's not automatic. You assume, but it's not automatic. The 57-yard field goal wasn't automatic. The field goal in the dying seconds potentially was not automatic. So what happens if you get that play and then Lutz clunks it? And then you still go to overtime and the rest of it plays out the same.
Yeah.
Now it's not the referee's fault.
Correct.
now,
absolutely.
Now you're back to Sean. But here's the question. If that plays out and we don't have the referees to blame, what then happens with Drew Brees and Sean Payton's performance in that game? We have to scrutinize it a lot more closely than we ended up having to do so.
But if the kicker just dinks it and doesn't go in, I think more people are talking about his miss, at least on a national scale. I think writers in New Orleans are gonna maybe talk about the missed calls and the like when I say missed calls, I mean missed calls like Sean Payton, misplay calling, or Drew Brees' performance. Sure, but right, it's about. I mean, you're right. You make a good point about the narrative and what the narrative is. But we don't live in a what if.
But the thing is,
what happened.
But the thing is, the no call became a what if because when they're making the argument, everybody assumes that you run the clock down to nothing, you make the kick, and you win. You go to the Super Bowl. I'm saying it's not automatic. I'm not conceding it. It's like that 3-foot putt. I'm not going to concede it. I've seen it missed too many times. I'm going to make you kick it because then at that point it's like, okay, if you make it, you make it. We assume they're going to make it, but it'll be the what if. We always will assume. We suspect he would have made it, but we'll never know for sure. So that was the NFC Championship. We wanted to talk about that mostly because, frankly, we had more feels in it. I'm an NFC fan. You're an NFC fan, and to be honest, the AFC Championship was mostly just we don't want the Patriots to win because we're tired of them.
Fact.
So the only thing that needs to be said about it is that Andy Reid needs to really consider maybe letting somebody else focus in on controlling clock management. He needs to hire a coordinator for clock management. Basically, just somebody whose only job he can run the offense. His only job, the guy's job, should be to figure out when to call timeouts, when to set it up. It's that should be their only job. I still advocate for the relief coach. I think he should have been able to go to the bullpen and call Tom Coughlin, who already knows how to deal with this. He goes, "I got this," and Mahomes is way better than Eli Manning, so I can work with this. There's no good reason.
You're not going to hear an argument from me.
Yeah. So that's the AFC Championship. There is one more thing I wanted to address. So that covers the football. Can I
just say one more thing? Go ahead. Because I know you've seen this and the videos out there. The Madden replay. Now I know they didn't have the score the same, but they ran the play where so they're playing, Madden on either probably PS4 or Xbox, I don't know which one. And they have the same lineup out on the field. They run the same play the Saints did. And the guy who is playing it is controlling Roby Coleman and just runs over and roughly around the same time as the ball was in the air, obliterates Tommy Lee Lewis. Immediately, flag, right?
Yeah.
To me, it just adds a little insult to injury. That's all. And I feel it's one of those things that, especially if you're a Saints fan or, you enjoy like quirky little things, search out the video, because I don't know why. For me, it was somewhat cathartic.
Okay.
Watching that play, when you're like, like in another world, another universe, this play totally got called as it should have. That's all I want to say. That I'll leave it at that.
Listen, I'm going, at some point when we got a chance, I'm going to rehash the 2014 NFC Championship. And you want to talk about replaying things in your head. 19-3. I think it was 19-3 was the score with like 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Packers lost. Or it might have been 12 points. But regardless, it was like, no, there's no possible way. There's almost mathematically no way you can lose. And they still did. I'm not saying I'm bitter, but I'm saying I'm bitter. So bitter.
So your final point you wanted to talk about.
So the final point about that is we're not going to watch the Super Bowl. I think to be honest, now I want to see
for different reasons.
Yeah. I'll link that article from the New Orleans thing where they make the pitch for New Orleans fans not to watch the Super Bowl. I'd like to see if I know you won't, because once you've got your sports bitterness built up, like you've abandoned, the Montreal Canadiens are dead to you when they basically got rid of PK Subban. So, you abandon one of your teams. But it'd be easy for you to skip a game. But for me, it's like, I'm just tired of seeing Tom Brady. The real problem I have with the Super Bowl is not that I can't watch it. It's that I don't care about the Rams. I don't have a problem with the Rams. If they win, fine, great, awesome. But I don't care about the Rams. The Rams winning gives me no satisfaction.
What about your satisfaction if the Jared Goff rookie card goes up in value?
That's basically the financial thing. But it's going to be offset because I'm going to try to jinx the Patriots. The Jared Goff rookie card going up may land me a couple $100. I'm probably going to bet a couple of $100 on the Patriots to screw them over if I can. I'm going to jinx them. If the gambling gods are against me, I'm going to buy an LA Rams victory, and frankly, they should have me in the parade. I'm going to do what I can to put the hex on New England. I do this for the people.
Fair enough. And I won't be watching the game, obviously because of the Saints thing, but also because there are no winners here. Nobody wants to see the Patriots win a Super Bowl, right? We've already seen enough of them. We want to see somebody else from the AFC do something.
It's not even
please AFC. Please. And I mean, I don't want to see the Rams win it. Not only because of what happened in the NFC Championship game, but also because I detest their owner, because he's also the owner of Arsenal Football Club in London, England. But that's a story for another podcast.
That's the soccer. That's the poor people's sport. We will discuss that at another time. But the thing is that I think what it really comes down here, this would be a different conversation if Belichick had gotten his way and he had been able to boot out Brady and put in Garoppolo, because then at least it would be something new. There would be a new element, but it's Brady and Belichick again. I don't have a problem with Belichick. He's evil. He's the emperor. But then I'm sick of Darth Vader. I want Darth Vader gone. I need a new version. I need Darth Vader 2.0.
You want a Kylo Ren?
Whatever. In fairness, I argue we got Kylo Ren first. Darth Vader is at least kind of sweet.
Fair enough.
Kylo Ren's kind of a whiny, let's just say Kylo Ren would be the kind of guy to date a supermodel and be so insecure to create a Tom versus Time Facebook thing, Tom Average, and he would be the kind of dude to wear Uggs. He is the Kylo Ren of football.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. Like, Tom Brady, I don't need this man. I do not need him in my life in any capacity. I don't care. Like, I'm done with this guy. That's all I'm saying. So as far as that's concerned, that is the takeaway. Kylo Ren, it's like Tom Brady is the Kylo Ren of the NFL football.
Nobody's going to remember anything we said about the NFC Championship game. They're just going to remember that.
I feel this is what I bring to the table. This is what I do.
This is what this podcast brings you, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
put a button on it. That's really what we need to do. Now, that covers the Super Bowl, AFC Championship for 3 seconds because really no one cares. NFC Championship, we've broken it down Zapruder style with slow motion replays and screen grabs and the whole bit. But there is one more element that I would like briefly discuss.
All right.
Because it is near and dear to my heart. The National Baseball Hall of Fame announced a new class. I do want to take a moment here at the tail end to discuss this because it is relevant. It is part of the sports balls. It is kind of a thing that happens. So, the National Baseball Hall of Fame inducted 3 new members.
4 for real, but
3.
Obviously you're discounting 1.
3.
Would you like to tell people why you're discounting?
Mariano Rivera is not legitimate. Number 1, I hate him because he's a New York Yankee. Number 2, he is from Panama, but he is Benicio Arnold. He is a traitor. He should have played for Team Panama. It wouldn't have made a difference, by the way. But I have another piece to add to this puzzle. Now, I say this partially tongue-in-cheek. I hate Mariano Rivera because he's a Yankee, but other than that, I really don't care. But number 1, 100%, that's BS. That's garbage. Like, the first 100%. The whole argument for year with the writers thing, and I think the biggest difference is, I read somewhere, that now the writers actually all have to have their ballots public. So I think that's what got those cowards to not be able to hide behind it. But the whole premise is, okay, Mariano Rivera is the all-time saves leader. Okay, great, that's fine. So what? Lee Smith was the all-time saves leader for a while. Trevor Hoffman was the all-time saves leader for a while. We're not worrying about it that way. Oh, but he won 5 championships. Okay, cool. That's a team stat. He's the closer. Is it important for the closer? Let's put it this way. If you have a bad closer, is this a problem for you? Yes, 100%. But is it hard to find a good closer or a decent closer or one that can be effective? K-Rod had 62 saves in a year. Let's talk about Eric Gagne. Let's talk about John Smoltz in the middle of a Hall of Fame career, having arm surgery, missing a year, and they said, well, we don't want you to stress your arm. So for 3 years, he became a dominant closer in the National League, got 187 saves, I think, and then went back to pitching full-time. That's a pitcher. The other thing is like, Mariano Rivera is with 1 pitch because he's too stupid to learn a second pitch.
I feel this would just be better if you just went off on this in Spanish.
There will be a time and a place for that. But for now, the important thing is, look, when it comes to a closer, I don't have a problem with closers being in the Hall of Fame because, great. By the way, Dennis Eckersley was also a good starter at one point before he became a dominant closer. So again, he was a good pitcher, period.
Right, but I don't think the fact that you were never started should
that's what I'm saying.
From being in the Hall of Fame.
But that's what I'm saying, though. It should also be considered and factored in that in order to be a good closer and to get a lot of saves, your team has to be good. The Yankees were consistently good for a long time.
You have to be in a position where you can save.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if your team sucks and you're never winning by 2 runs or less, and you're in the late innings, how many saves are you going to get?
That's true.
It is partially a team stat. So like, look, I'm fine with Mariano Rivera being in, no issue. But it's like, come on now, 100%. That's kind of garbage. There have been more worthy 100% guys. There are about 50 Hall of Famers that I can give you that should have been that well before. Ken Griffey Jr.
But can I tell the people the real reason why you're angry and upset about this?
There's one more thing I'll add in that goes into the real reason that you're saying.
Okay.
By the way, the player in question that cost Team Panama the 2006 World Baseball Classic game against Cuba that they should have won,
Ruben Rivera,
is the cousin of Mariano Rivera. So that whole family is traitors. They're garbage. All of them. Burn to the ground. Burn to the ground. We're done. It's over. No, I actually want to talk about the other Hall of Famers.
All right.
I needed to get the Mariano Rivera thing out
it's
first.
It's your system. Okay.
Now we can speak more positively.
All right, fair enough. I have nothing to add, by the way.
I feel like I've covered the breadth of the Mariano Rivera discussion.
Well, you never mentioned that he never played for Team Panama.
I did.
Did you?
Towards the beginning. That's why he was Benicio Arnold.
Well, I don't know if everyone will get that reference, but the World Baseball Classics that Mariano Rivera never played in because he was saving his arm for the Yankees.
Yeah,
just make sure we are.
Now, in full disclosure, he did visit the team, I think, for the 2009. I think he went in uniform and hung out with them, basically, and did some training with them. But I was like, why don't you just play then? Why don't you just play? Go pitch a couple innings, jackass. Anyway, after your stupid cousin cost them the one game, they've never won a game in the World Baseball Classic, just so we're clear. And by the way, in the very next game, that's when they got, I want to say, they lost to the Netherlands. They were no-hit, 11-0. I think that's the first time they instituted the mercy rule. My pain will never end.
I'm just shaking my head here.
My pain will never end.
All right, the other 3 Hall of Famers.
The other 3 Hall of Famers. So I'll do Halladay last because I think that's a worthy of it. Mike Mussina, I like it. I think he's worthy. I think he was great in the American League East for years.
Absolutely.
And his last season, I think he retired a year early because in 2008 he was a 20-game winner. 2009, they won the World Series. Like, that's the worst timing ever. Coming off a 20-win season, they would totally have brought you back. And the 2019 won the World Series.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a shame for Mike Mussina. But 270 wins in this era is 300 wins.
Absolutely.
Like, nobody's even coming close. You just have to be too consistent. They're not getting enough. In a 5-man rotation, they're not getting enough starts. They're not completing enough games. They're not getting enough games to get the decisions. You're just not going to see. Basically, if a guy hits 250, I'd at least look at him for the Hall of Fame, unless his ERA is like 6. So like, unless it's something ridiculous. You have to really consider, like, winning 250 games in this era means you're pitching well for a long time. That's consistency. You've also got Edgar Martinez. Again, I don't have an issue. When you think of a DH, he is, I think the award now for DH is called the Edgar Martinez Award. So if you get an award named after you for a specific, even though it's really niche, I think he was a good enough hitter over time. So, and he basically became a full-time DH because of injuries. So I'm not going to hold that against him. I'm not going to. So you got Mussina, you got Rivera, you got Edgar Martinez, and then that leaves Roy Halladay voted in. Obviously his death, pushed it up. Probably wouldn't have been first ballot, but he certainly worthy.
Absolutely.
Cy Young in both leagues, the perfect game and the no-hitter. Did you hear about the cap thing, though, on the plaque?
How his wife said that he's probably not going to have a cap, yes.
No, the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame has confirmed that they're going to go with just basically a neutral or a blank on the thing. They're going to honor the family's wishes on that one. It's kind of a cop-out. I'm not really going to give him too much of a hard time because, look, at the end of the day, whatever. Fine. But it's like you're 99% associated with one team. It's like the time in the Phillies. I laugh though because there was a columnist in Philadelphia that said, "Oh, Roy Halladay would have wanted to be retired as a Philly. Sorry, not retired. To be in the Hall of Fame as a Philly." And he argued this like, "Oh well, he had all his playoff experience with the Phillies." It's like, yeah, he won a couple of games in the playoffs and had a playoff no hitter, no question, but they didn't win anything. That's like an NHL Hall of Famer. It's like, I want to be associated with this team. Why? Because we got to the playoffs and played in the first round. Like, so what? Congratulations.
No, I obviously wish he was going in as a Blue Jay.
Because there's not going to be another Blue Jay for a while.
No, and there's so many good memories associated with Roy Halladay as a Blue Jay. Like, as a Blue Jays fan, right? The amount of times we've watched him pitch as a Blue Jay and pitch dominantly, right? Those are some good memories.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's the thing. Like, I think it's good, though. The Mussina and Halladay thing. Because Halladay, because of injuries, he had to retire at just a little over 200 wins. I think it's good, though, because now the writers are starting to think, like, look, guys, 200 wins, injuries happen, stuff happens. The shame is for Larry Walker, hopefully, is starting to move closer, too, because I think he's worthy.
I hope so. And that'd be great to see another Canadian-born
Fred
player
McGriff missed out, which is a real shame. His problem, I think he played for too many teams. But 493 home runs. Like, he was good.
Well, and here's the other thing. If he hit 7 more home runs, he's in the Hall of Fame.
I think so, but it's one of those things. It's weird because I think it's a psychological barrier. Like, think about it, 7 more home runs over the course of a 20-year career. Like, that seems kind of petty. Seems kind of silly. Another guy that I would like to see the Veterans Committee, one of the Veterans Committee, because there's a bunch of them now. One of the ones that I want to look at, I would really like them to re-look at the Delgado case. Because he had to retire due to injury early. I ended up with, I think, 460 home runs. But the thing is, if you go look, his last season, he had 4 home runs, but he basically played like 20 games. He was hurt. His last full season before that, he had 38 home runs.
Yeah.
And at 460, you're telling me he couldn't hit 20 home runs for 2 more seasons to get to 500? Like, he was still young enough that he still had some productive years if he could play.
Yeah, but injuries forced him to retire.
Yeah, and he was a dominant player, and he narrowly missed out on winning an MVP in one of the A-Rod years. And A-Rod was on all kinds of steroids. So it's like, come on. That was just, it was bad timing. They were in. One thing I didn't know. Did you know that Delgado has a World Series ring?
I did not.
He was technically on the 93 team. Imagine the kind of luck and bad luck at the same time.
Yes.
You basically are like you're a young player. You're basically a rookie. You played enough games. You get a ring. But then you spend the entire rest of your career and never get another snap.
Is that back when he was still a catcher?
Yes. So it's like you never, through your dominance, through your best years, you never even come close ever again.
Oh my
And Halliday just missed that window as well because he was a couple of years later. But that's the reason why we'll talk more Jays at some point. But the thing is, that's the reason why I'm like, people are talking like Bo Bichette and Vladdy Jr. It's like, guys, we had Sean Green and Carlos Delgado. They were good. They were real good. And they were good for a while. And it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And we had Roy Halladay for a while. It didn't matter. A couple of good pieces here and there aren't going to make up for the fact the team is no good. And did you hear about Marco Estrada?
About him leaving the Blue Jays, you mean?
Yeah. So he signed with the A's, but he signed with the A's for 1 year, $4 million. Which is like, okay, you can't bring him back for $4 million?
Yeah.
That's what you're paying Aaron Sanchez. Now, Aaron Sanchez has a higher ceiling. He has a potential to be, but for 1 year, $4 million, bring him back. He'll lead some innings. Like, there's nothing to lose there. So last point I'll make on the Hall of Fame real quick, bring it back to that. There were the other guys as well. Lee Smith, I believe, is in the Hall of Fame based on one of the veteran committees.
Which, going back to your point, I approve of. Not
I'm
one,
fine with
because he used to be the saves leader before.
Yeah.
But second, I have a Lee Smith autograph. So now I have a Hall of Fame Lee Smith autograph.
Well, if you had properly thought ahead, you could have had another Hall of Fame autograph of another all-time great, and someone, quite frankly, that is more worthy of 100% than, say, Mariano Rivera, Harold Baines.
That's a conversation for another show right there. Right? If Harold Baines is a Hall of Famer, then how many other guys should be Hall of Famers, right?
On a related note, for the 2019 class, I accept in advance my place in the Hall of Fame. In video game, in MLB The Show, I hit more than 900 home runs in MLB The Show. So I look forward.
This is as you as being created as a player, correct?
Yes. Carlos Alcazar, the digital video game player, hit comfortably over 900 home runs. And he did so in 11 seasons. Hey. That's dominance. That's real dominance. That's 112%.
Fair enough.
It's like first ballot and a half.
There you go.
So I think that's it. I think we've droned on for long enough. But I think between those two things, I'm quite satisfied with it. So we'll see. It's kind of a pilot episode. We'll see. Basically, if we have the will left in our lives after freezing for a couple of more weeks to see if we can put together another one.
All right.
So, Mr. Turnbull, have we exercised some of your demons, or will you hold years of bitterness? Just saying, it's completely normal to hold the bitterness inside of you forever and let it slowly rot away at your soul.
Well, you asked me an either-or question,
yes.
So the answer is yes.
There you go. Thanks very much. We may or may not see you next time.